You know, I find as I get older, one of the most important things in my life is something that we all generally tend to take for granted when we were younger. If you do it right, you have almost no memory of it. If you do it wrong, not only do you remember it very vividly, but you and everybody around you would be miserable for the next 16 hours. And that is a good night's sleep. And it's even more tricky for folks in our age group. And herein lies the dilemma. As we have more leisure time in our schedule, especially when Miriam retires, we want to travel a lot. But we don't have an unlimited budget. And accommodations, typically the hotels we stay at or even Airbnbs, still takes up a very large chunk of our travel budget, which limits the amount of time that we can stay on the road. One of the obvious solutions is camping, but that's not as simple a solution as it sounds. There's a lot of consideration needs to go into it because, let's face it, there is no amount of coffee that can fix a bad night's sleep. And a bad night's sleep when you're on the road detracts from the overall enjoyment of the trip, compromises your safety, and overall health. So it's kind of important to make sure that when you're traveling, you can sleep and rest comfortably. So that's why we're spending a lot of time and energy to put together a system that will give us a very comfortable night's sleep, is very portable, easy to use, and won't break the bank. So that's going to be the topic of today's video. When I was a much younger guy in my teens and early 20s, for me, camping was pretty much taking a sleeping bag, throw it on the ground, take a jacket, throw it up under my head for a pillow, and I could get a good night's sleep no matter where I was at or what I was doing. But you know, as you get older, things tend to change. The sleeping bag on the ground probably wasn't as comfortable back then as it's still not comfortable today, but I didn't know any better. I didn't have access to the internet, hadn't been invented yet, so I didn't know what technology and equipment existed. Of course, there wasn't that much. You had a sleeping bag, and that was pretty much it for that period back in the 70s. So the first piece of gear I added to my list after I started backpacking was the Insulite Foam Pad. This is a closed cell foam pad, relatively inexpensive, probably even today under $15, and it does several things. It does offer about maybe a 1/4 inch or 1/3 of an inch of actual foam insulation between you and the ground. It gives you some measure of comfort, but most importantly, it adds insulation. It keeps the your body, which needs to be regulated about 98.6, from the ground. And in our latitude, the ground is in the 50s continuously. So without this, this will actually wick the temperature right out of your body and give you a cold spot. It can be uncomfortable. So this thing is, especially if you're in cold climates, worth its weight in gold. And it's relatively inexpensive, but it's not state-of-the-art for comfort. I still have one of these around, and they do come in handy. In the mid-'80s, I became aware of a new technology from a company called Thermarest. The Thermarest Air Mattress is actually a game changer for those of us who are into camping and using lightweight equipment for such things. The Thermarest Air Mattress is an open cell foam pad. This is the one I picked up back in the 80s, so it's got a lot of life into it. It compresses and folds up nice and tight, and when you're ready to use it, you just open the valve, let it set for a while, and let the foam expand. And if you want more a firm mattress, you could add a little air, blow some air into it and close the valve, and it gives you a good night's sleep. To store it, you simply open the valve, roll it up, squeeze all the air out of it, and she's ready to travel. Now, the downside is for storage, you don't want to leave it folded up because the foam will get compressed, it'll stay compressed, and it won't work as well. You would simply open the valve up, let the air circulate, and store it flat, typically under your bed or under a couch. This has been under our bed in the master bedroom for years and years and years. I picked this one up, gosh, back in the mid-'80s when I first discovered the Thermarest. Well, for the time, it was worth its weight in gold. It gives you a really good night's sleep, and they come in different thicknesses and different sizes, so you can customize the size and thickness to meet your own needs. Now, if I'm traveling in a cold environment, I will still carry the Insulite pad underneath that. Although the R value of the Thermarest is good, the Insulite pad kicks it up an extra notch. Many years ago, my brother and I were camping. We were camping in snow, about 6 inches of snow on the ground. He did not bring his Insulite pad. I did, and he is actually a lot lighter than I am. But from where I was sleeping, the snow had not melted at all, just a little bit compressed for my body weight. His, being even much lighter, the snow had actually melted a little bit from the body heat that was transferring through his sleeping bag, through the Thermarest, and onto the snow. He said he didn't feel any cold weather, but or any cold temperature, but the proof was in the pudding, in the fact that the ice under him was actually melting. Where mine was using the combination of the Thermarest and the Insulite pad was a perfect thermal barrier. The downside of this combination is it's still rather light. As you get older, I have found that I require a little bit more creature comforts when I sleep, and so does Miriam. We find that if you don't get a good night's sleep, well, like I said at the beginning of the video, not only do you suffer, but everybody around you suffers. And there is not enough coffee in the universe to cure a bad night's sleep. So, which brings us to our next level of technology. The next technology is the manually inflated air mattress. This is basically just a simple manually blow it up, and it holds compressed air. It gives you a little bit more of a buffer of about 3 or 4 inches off the ground, and it helps to displace the shoulders, the rib cage, and the hips from the ground. Again, you can add your Insulite pad under this to give you more insulation, and it's quite comfortable. The downside is you actually have to blow this model up with either a pump or with your own lung strength. Kind of handy, but it's still not the best option available today. And next is the Coleman 4-in-1 inflatable air mattress. Well, it's luxurious, what can I say? It's big, it's bulky, it's not something you would want to take backpacking, but it's definitely something for car camping or to fit in the trailer of the Spyder. Now, this is a big model. It's over 3 foot wide and it's plenty long, and it's quite luxurious. Now, this does require either a lot of breaths to pump up with your own mouth, or you can use a small electric pump, which is what we have. This is something you don't necessarily want to use for backpacking just because of the bulk, but it is perfect for car camping, or in our case, Spyder camping. And, well, how does it feel? It rivals my bed. Very, very comfortable. We have 2 of these, and it pretty much will occupy the entire floor section of our current generation tent, which we're testing. So I think this might do it. Even Miriam gives it the thumbs up so far. So we're looking forward to getting this into the field and giving it a good test. It's come quite a ways away from sleeping on the cold, hard ground. So cross our fingers. Now, as to the air pump, I picked this up on Amazon. I can't even recall the brand name, but that's what the packaging looks like. 12 volt or 110, depending on which way you want to go. This is the actual pump. It comes with simple on-off switch, inflow and outflow size to the pump. And if you want to remove the air by sucking the air out or blowing it back in, you got these adapters depending on what type of valve you have on whatever you want to inflate. You would simply put the valve on top, stick it inside the air mattress, turn the pump on. It does a good job. Now, I've got the 110 volt plug-in here for house current, or you can plug in the 12 volt cigarette lighter adapter. Now, I'm not sure about how much amperage this will draw. There is a 5 amp limit on the cigarette lighter power supply and the trunk of the Spyder. So I don't know if that's going to blow the fuse or not on that. So I happen to have, and I picked this up on Amazon some time ago, is a cigarette lighter adapter that plugs right into the auxiliary power supply on the battery, which I can simply plug that into that, and then plug in the cigarette lighter adapter, and I have power to the pump. Now my battery actually has a power supply connected right to it that I could use for my battery tender or to power my air compressor for my spare tire repair kit or the air pump. So quite handy. The whole system is very lightweight. I would say the pump itself with the adapters weighs less than the power supply and cables you'll get with it. So far, pretty happy with the setup. Now the next part of the equation is your sleeping bags. We have the rectangular bag and the mummy bag on the right. What's the real difference in the two? Well, with the these are rated for about the same temperature. This one on my right, the mummy bag, is much lighter. You get more insulating power, also called loft, per ounce of insulating material as opposed to the rectangular bag. Now, if I was backpacking, I would prefer the mummy bag. It packs up lighter, it packs up smaller, and saves a lot of space, and is quite effective. But we're going to be car camping, or base camping as it were. So I will prefer the more comfortable, natural feeling rectangular bag. Also, this, if we choose to, it can unzip and just form a large comforter, which is perfect. And to that, we add a small camp pillow. Now, even though this is a Kelty brand, you could pick these up pretty much anywhere as long as they do the job. Now, to add a little bit more elevation to the pillow, I will typically take my jacket, put it in the stuff sack for the sleeping bag, fold it up, and put it under that, and that'll give me a little bit more elevation for my neck and shoulders. But those are your two options for sleeping bags. Miriam has currently got a mummy bag. That is her preference for the time being. That may change. I've opted for the rectangular bag. Now the last part of the sleeping equation is the tent. Now we've taken it from the package the manufacturer gave us, and I put it in this compression stuff sack so I can squeeze it down a lot tighter, and then the poles are over here. So we're going to see how long it takes us to set this thing up. In real time, it took me under 10 minutes to set up the entire tent from start to finish. Now, I did not install the guidelines, which holds the ring fly out from the body, but I suspect that would take an extra 2 or 3 minutes. I also did not install the footprint or the vapor barrier between the tent and the ground, which I would typically do for several reasons. It keeps the moisture from the ground from possibly moving through any openings in the waterproof floor into the tent, and adds a layer of protection from the ground and the bottom of the tent. The dimensions of this particular tent are 7 foot by 7 foot by 5.5 foot tall on the inside, which should serve us perfectly. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little insight into our planning and research process to do some camping out of the Spyder. Is this a perfect solution? By no means. Everything in life is a compromise. Is it something that Miriam and I really want to embrace? Well, we won't know until we get out there and give it a couple of nights in the field and see how it works out for us. Yeah, there's probably going to be some downsides, but I think the upsides may pay off. The chief among them is the cost. And as I mentioned in some last videos, your standard hotels are not necessarily known for their views. So that's something we want to take advantage of also. So, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, and plus the little bell button down below, because it'll give you a notification when our next video is out. We try to put them out every week. And we will catch you all next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.